Hey, everybody. Welcome to 1455's inaugural reading for our bi-monthly e-magazine, Movable Type. If this is your first time checking us out, you picked a wonderful occasion to kind of get to know us and what we do. I'm Sean Murphy. I am the executive director of 1455. Very briefly, 1455 is a nonprofit arts organization, and our mission is both simple and wide-ranging, we hope, which is we want to celebrate storytelling of all types, which means that we are constantly seeking out storytellers, which primarily involves the written word, but is not necessarily just contained to authors and writers. We love the visual arts. We love all kinds of arts, all kinds of story, and our free programming bears this out through our annual summer festival. We have an author series, we've got an interview series, we've got a workshop series, and of course, our magazine Movable Type. 1455 takes its name from the year 1455, which was the year Gutenberg's press initially began pumping out content at a massive level. And for me, among many complicating factors, good and bad, about what that entailed, that was the year and the cultural revolution that ensured that henceforth content was no longer solely controlled by the elite. So we like to think that we're kind of a line in the sand connecting us in our digital age to what was started many centuries ago. And Movable Type, of course, was the technology, or the technology, as whatever passed for technology then, that made this work. So that's our name of the magazine. And Movable Type is a magazine in process. We typically have a theme for each issue, and we invite poetry, fiction, essays, memoir, etc. This is the first issue, in issue 8, dedicated entirely to poetry and one piece of flash fiction. So it's really special. I was able to pull together with some help from one of our readers, who I'll mention when I introduce her, an amazing group of writers, many of which are located in New York, a couple from the West Coast. So we're kind of representing the entire country. But let's get into it. There's nothing more exciting to me. The only thing better than reading good writing is hearing the author read their work. So this is a really special opportunity. What I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to introduce each writer. Each writer is going to read their work for about 5 minutes, and we'll go through that. And if there's time, we might chat a little bit, but the focus tonight is and should be entirely on these writers, and I thank all of them for being here. So it's very appropriate that our first reader and the first contributor in the magazine is Leah, because Leah has become a friend of mine. We've collaborated. We look forward to further collaboration, but she helped me corral some of her extremely talented friends. So I am in debt to her, and her efforts to help this issue come together really underscore, we talk a lot at 1455 about community, and I think that can quickly become trite. And community means so many things to so many people, but I think in the literary world, community is everything. So this issue of Movable Type really epitomizes how community can come together and spread light on great work. So let me introduce Leah Kogen-Elimeliah. She is a poet, essayist, short story, and nonfiction writer from Moscow, currently living in New York City. She's an MFA candidate at City College of New York. She's the founder and director of the WordShedNYC Reading Series and an editorial associate for Fiction Literary Magazine. She's collaborated on various poetry, visual art projects with choreographers, dancers, musicians, as well as videographers experimenting with multimedia and poetry. Her writing focuses on identity, language, immigration, intergenerational trauma, sexuality, and culture. She lives in Manhattan with her husband and their children. Leah, thank you for being here. I'm really looking forward to hearing your work.
Wow. I'm always doing my own readings, and I feel very weird, so weird to be introduced So I'm very grateful for that and wonderful introduction. And I am so happy that we gathered these amazing voices and poets together, and you gave us the platform. And so honestly, I thank you so much for providing us writers this platform that's really incredible and also multifaceted. And I had the privilege to be on a panel this summer at your festival, gathering, scientists and dancers and choreographers and talking about climate and art. And so I just look forward to many more collaborations and continued friendship. And thank you for introducing me to these new writers that I look forward to hearing tonight as well. I'll just jump into, I'll read two of my poems that were published. The first poem is called Bomb Shelter, and it's based on an experience that my daughter had this past summer in a summer camp where she was a counselor on a kibbutz in Israel. Bomb Shelter. Summer away from home on a kibbutz in the north, there's a bomb shelter. When the raindrops from the sky are too big to swallow, you are warned of its poison. This safety zone turns to campgrounds where the sun strikes and a boy covered in flesh of man invites a girl in jokingly, warning her that he's about to force himself down her throat. My daughter, a witness to his story, hangs on over the phone, gripped with tears in her eyes by the loud cries of the girl who's only 12. Her camper, whose emptying innocence oozes through the broken concrete, through the what ifs. On the other end of the lifeline, I'm holding my daughter hostage, afraid she too might fall inside the bomb shelter where this boy of man, 13 in age, sings songs of rape, whose dreams ferment, simmer, boil over like nightmares often do, then sets his future on fire, burns the girl, her hair, her small hands. He leaves her there bare. Will we use a tranquilizer to put him down? Who will seduce the justice system? Tell me, my daughter says, do we believe young girls? Will his parents be notified? Anger boiling over, I wonder, will this young girl metamorphose into a woman? Will this boy lock up for good? Will someone teach him how to speak to girls? At 18, will he respect their bodies, reference their minds, appreciate their skin, challenge what he's heard or didn't learn? Will he unchain himself from a trapped mind inside this bomb shelter in the north? And my, oof. Thank you. I'm actually, okay. Yeah, my next poem is, it's called It's Raining in Afghanistan. And obviously it's based on what is still going on in Afghanistan. It's raining in Afghanistan. Men latch on to flying US military planes. I watch them fall out of the sky, rolling off the small of the back of America. While in the White House, officials are officiating a wedding, and the public is frantic. Reports mount bombshell television scenes. An expected lifeline is a haphazard. Can someone please evacuate the news? Missing women, where are the children going to go? This emptying is like any extraction, miscalculation. Their land foreign to the forgotten, soldiers picking up body rubble, dusting off shoes from logos, eyes collecting eyes, scattered limbs, mothers cupping tears, drink up Kabul. Noses look for daughters too, their own inhaled death. Heads with badges on their chests signal west. Dogs unleashed, sniff out, causes, resources, excuses, opinions, fall out of the sky, off, on. America does not carry much weight here. Taliban-led Afghanistan does not hold much leverage. on America another unseemly beauty mark in the shape of unsolved cruelties, with its inlay of internal division. And what of this city? What of the stray cats? I heard Kabul's air pollution may be even deadlier than war. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much. I'll just say, you know, as the editor of this magazine, your expansive range in just a couple of pieces, really taking us outside, you know, very, very inside both personal, you know, concerns and issues, but just having this real empathetic scope and engagement with kind of things we're all grappling with. Just a remarkable tone set for this issue. So I'm very grateful to include your beautiful work, Leah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Okay, so next up is Vicky Wicker, and I will introduce her. Vicky's writing credits include Entropy Magazine, Pigeon Review, The Nonconformist, La Presa, 12 Los Angeles Poets, and Literary Mama. Her poetry and photography appear in the poetry anthology Seeing Things. Her poetry collection Caught Before Flight, published in 2020. Bucolia, her most recent solo photography show, debuted at the Word and Image Gallery from Bright Hill Press 2020. She's in the upcoming group show Once Upon a Time, presented by Griffin Museum of Photography in November of 2021. So I guess that actually happened. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how that went. Originally from LA, she lives in the Cooperstown area of upstate New York. Vicky, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be here with you and with this group. It's quite a thrill. Yeah, the museum show is going on right now. I believe it's going to be there till February. And yeah, so I have one photo in it. I'm quite honored for that too. And I was telling you earlier, I'm on my phone. I usually do this on my computer, so I hope everything goes all right. I'm also going to read on my phone. And my piece is called Gray Wolf. It's a throwback, and I hope you enjoy it. Gray Wolf. Gray Wolf was there on a small chair at a small table in the back of a hipster coffee bar. When hipster coffee bars weren't hip, you know, in the late 80s, when being a cocaine yuppie with a black BMW and a wicked tequila hangover was the thing. I was with Dree, my best friend, such a gentle soul, such a good friend. That was when I had time for friends. That was back in the day when we all had jobs, 9 to way beyond 5, whatever. No much was too much, 7 days a week. We were moving so fast together, sometimes weeks, even months. If we were on business trips, Dree and I, we weren't hippies in this hipster of a hippie coffee bar. The tie-dye, the beads, you know the drill. Incense man with blue eyes as old as the ocean. His name was Gray Wolf. And he was puka shells and a tie-dye shirt, scrappy leather sandals, scrappy leather feet, yellow toenails hanging over the rope soles like claws. Now I've gone too far. Dree and I had come for the tea. It would have been chai tea, too sweet, too hot, too many calories. We would only sip it, no food. We didn't even drink coffee back then. Coffee was for the blue collar folk and tippy grandmas. And we were young and sleek and the only young as only the young can be. We had no clue. We only knew that we were shopping. We were designers. That is what we knew how to do. We could shop a city as big as LA in one day if we had to. Once I shopped London so fast that the girl I was with was crying. The blisters on her feet had her lost. We would have been in that hippie coffee shop, Dree and I, looking at the tchotchkes, things to buy, colors, textures, patterns, anything bright and eye-catching that gave us the feeling that this was new, that this was what we were after. This was what we needed to be brilliant. So why was I sitting there with a dude who did in fact look like a gray wolf? Why was I hanging on every word this card shuffler said? He laid down the tarot, a soft, worn, dirty deck, a deck that had seen many times. That deck had told many lives and lived inside many heads. And there I was, back from Europe, back from Asia, tired, hungry, starving. It was the 80s. We were starving and manless. I was manless. And would he read a man into my life, conjure the big love into being? He flipped the cards down with his satisfying click, and I wish I could tell you what they were. Likely, there was a chariot. We used to laugh when we got the chariot. Mayhem with the chariot. Upside down swords and crossed lovers and burning castles with the chariot. I'm sure that I got them all of the disaster cards, especially knowing now what I didn't know then, the what that was coming for my life next. But that day, in that little shop with the pink crystals, dude with the long gray hair told me something so clear, like a howl from the other side. He said, "You are living a dream, but making it a nightmare." He said, "You are living a dream, but making it a nightmare." He said, "You are living a dream, but making it a nightmare." He said, "Repeat it," he said. "Say it with me," he said. And I did, and I did, and I did, and I didn't understand. Was I too hungry? I couldn't digest that string of words. I chewed them then. I chew them now. It's taken years and years and years of repeating to understand what that gray wolf saw in this thin girl's cards. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful.
Thank you.
Vicki, that is what I perhaps unoriginally, when I read poems like that, I call them steak knife poems. That's a kind of poem that you need a steak knife to just, you're going to be working on that for a while. It insists on being reread. And yeah, that is, gosh, that is exhibit A of having read that several times, and just hearing your voice reading it just adds such a wonderful layer to it. What an honor to include that poem in our magazine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's so generous. Really.
My pleasure completely. Okay, so with the exception of Leah, who I've explained, she and I have met, all of these other writers, save two, are new to me, which is its own source of delight and refreshment. But our next writer I know very well. We have spent time together at writers' retreats, and I have heard her, I have read her work, I've helped edit her work, and I always enjoy hearing her read her work. So let me introduce my friend, the amazing and ageless Zia Wesley. She is the best-selling author of 9 books on natural health and beauty, 2 historical novels, and 1 memoir of her uncensored year in Italy, which I cannot recommend highly enough. She lives in Napa County and recently completed writing Michael Butler's autobiography with him. She suspects that her latest incarnation as a wine ambassador for the exclusive Boisset, I hope I'm saying that right, collection of fine wines will inspire more poetry. Please follow Zia on Twitter at ZiaWesley3. Zia, thank you for being here. And please pronounce it correctly if I mispronounce Boisset.
Boisset.
Boisset, of course. Yep.
So I am such a lightweight compared to you guys in the field of poetry. I am brand new after all these years. In fact, this poem that Sean published is my first poem to ever be published in my entire life. And this is the first time I am ever reading a poem that I wrote. So without any further ado, I will read this very, very short, lightweight poem that just came out of me one day. And by the way, I had no idea that Sean was going to publish this. I sent it to him 2 months ago or 3 months ago when I wrote it. And next thing I know, I'm reading it live. So here is Longing. I dream of touch, the warm palm of a man's hand, searching out the secrets in the curve of my hip, the silky skin of my inner thigh. Fingertips, reading the history of past pleasures and infinite hope. I dream of breath brushing my skin, bathing me in its sacred signature, and lips tasting my very own taste. I dream of being home to someone's embrace, of belonging. And it's hard for me to read.
Read it like a veteran poetess.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Like a pro.
Hang on, I need to get I don't know what I did with my glasses. Oh, here they are. So my actual job is a writer of books and novels. And this is this is book number 1 of a 2-book series based on a true story of 2 cousins from the 1700s who were born on the island of Martinique. And when they're 14, this is all documented. When they're 14, they go to visit an old Obeah woman, a seer, fortune teller, who tells them they will both be queens. One will be world famous. Everyone will know her name in perpetuity. The second will be 10 times more powerful, but no one will ever know she exists. And this is their true story. So this is book number 1, which is The Stolen Girl. And at the end of The Stolen Girl, I do a teaser of the opening for book number 2, which is The French Sultana. So I'm going to read the opening of book number 2, The French Sultana. And oops, I'm sorry, I just lost my page. Wait, here we go. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And here we go. So this takes place in the Sultan's harem in Istanbul, where the one of the cousins who has kidnapped when she's 18 years old has been given to the Sultan as a gift. There were 500 wives on the day when she enters the harem. And within 1 year, she is numero uno and mother of the heir. So being number 1 and being mother of the heir makes her a target for all of these other wives who want to do her in. And it's a miracle that she survives for as long as she does, 30 years. Anyway, book number 2, The French Sultana, begins in the harem, where she has just given birth to the heir. Following a short period of drunken and confused deliberation about how to best eliminate the new favorite, Nuket Seza settled upon the plan she always chose. She's the former favorite. She would poison the girl's food. Her personal Kutachu Usta, herbalist, reminded her that sorbets were the easiest food to alter since they were not cooked. One simply added the poison to the glass before it was served. Nuket remembered using a poison sorbet in her attempt to rid herself of the Sultan's annoying nephew, Salim, and she would have succeeded had the Circassian Khadin's meddling Kutachu Usta not administered an antidote so quickly. She smiled to herself and thought, the new little whore does not have a Kutachu Usta who can interfere, does she? Poison her in the hammam, she told her herbalist. As the woman left to do her bidding, Nuket Seza congratulated herself, confident that her problem would be solved and the new girl would soon be dead. But shortly before the noon meal, her spies reported that Nakshadil had not returned to the bath. She bathes privately with the Circassian Kadeen, they said, cowering away from her lest she strike them. Old Kadeen, she growled, meddling whore. She considered this information carefully. If the girl couldn't be poisoned in the baths, she would have to die during one of the meals. The Bascadine lolled in her private pool, trying to decide at which meal she should eliminate the girl, when another of her spies burst in with even more disturbing news. Nakshadil had been summoned to visit the Sultan for a second time. Second visit, she exclaimed. He had not summoned any girl for a second visit in many years. Her mind began to spin wildly out of control. She hauled her substantial girth out of the water and stomped angrily back and forth along the pool's edge. Arak, she screamed. Within minutes, a servant arrived bearing a bottle and a small crystal glass. Without interrupting her frantic pacing, Nuketseza knocked the glass from the servant's hand and grabbed the bottle, tipping it to her lips to drink deeply. Must kill the little whore fast, she muttered aloud. Swallowing another gulp, she made her decision. Since sorbets were not served at breakfast, the first opportunity would be the following day's noon meal. She summoned her Kutachu Usta and instructed her to poison Nakshadil's first sorbet on the following day. Feeling pleased with her own cleverness, she flopped down onto the divan and finished off the remaining arak, then passed out to her servant's great relief. Just stop there. That's the inner workings of a Turkish harem. I hope you enjoyed it.
So there we are, right? That one you can all see one of the many reasons I adore Zia. Talk about a palette that that just goes throughout history and throughout every emotion and feeling. Falling in love with her work, you fall in love with the woman. So Zia, it's a delight to include you in the proceedings. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Shawnee.
You're most welcome. Okay. So as it happens, the two people, like I said, that I do know very well are one right after the other. The next one, and it reminds me of from Vicky's poem, Invoking the 80s. During the 80s, there was a famous boxer named Marvin Hagler. He actually legally changed his name to the marvelous Marvin Hagler. If I had my way, I would legally change Hannah Grieco's name to the indefatigable Hannah Grieco, because she is a personal hero of mine. She is the quintessential literary citizen. She has her fingers in so many different purposeful pies. She's always advocating for and supporting other writers, and she is unbelievably productive. And she's a mother and a wife and has a life. She's just a ball of energy, and everything she does turns out great. So I consider her a friend and an inspiration. It's always a genuine pleasure to have her involved in anything 1455 does. So let me introduce her. Hannah Grieco is a writer, editor, teacher, and advocate based in the Washington, D.C. area. She writes essays and reported articles, as well as fiction, creative nonfiction, interviews, book reviews, food pieces, and humor. Her fiction has been awarded a spot on the Wigleaf Top 50, and her writing has been nominated for Best American Essays, the Pushcart Prize, Best of the Net, Best Small Fictions, and Best Microfiction. Her work can be found in a variety of publications, including Washington Post, Huffington Post, The Rumpus, McSweeney's, and Washington City Paper. Follow her on Twitter at WritesLoud! Hannah, thank you for joining the party. It's always a delight to see you.
Thank you so much for that over-the-top introduction. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Actually, had to race here from AU. I'm so sorry to be late and to miss the first part. I thought I'd be able to log in a little early, and then the fire alarm went off. Apparently, That's a thing. The freshmen have a hazing that involves fire alarms. And of course, as an adjunct, I was in like the basement classroom of a dorm. So I'm so sorry to be going through all of that, but I'm here. I'm going to get myself focused and read for you now. I'm going to read my micro from the new 1455 movable type, and then a quick poem after that. So thank you. All righty. This piece is called On the Last Day. On the last day, we took a drive, watched other kids play, their masks around their necks, laughing and spitting and sneezing all over their friends. And we watched their parents and nannies talking, watched them pull their masks down and lean close to whisper. And you looked at me with this expression on your face, like you'd never say something, not to me, but something needed to be said. And I didn't meet your eyes, kept driving past the playground, past the Starbucks with the crowd of high school students hugging each other and that one couple making out. And you laughed at that, at least. So I took us to McDonald's, got you an ice cream that didn't even really taste like ice cream, but you said thank you so politely and you ate it and stared out the window, and we drove around longer for hours. Even though you usually hate the car, usually don't want to hang out with me, but you wanted something. Anything new, anything living and breathing. And you opened your window and asked me, what would happen? What's the big deal anyways? And I didn't want to say what the big deal was, but you said, I already heard you tell grandma. And you said, you told grandma that I see things and that a fever would make me see things worse. And you said, you told grandma that they wouldn't take me at the hospital if I had COVID. And I said, you heard that, huh? And you said, yeah, I heard that. And then I said, I'm sorry, I told grandma instead of you. And I said, I'm sorry, nobody wears their mask. And I said, this year will eventually end, I promise. And you handed me the cone, which you hate because McDonald's cones taste like crunchy paper. And you said, I'm the reason you never go anywhere. And you said, I'm always the reason you don't go anywhere, aren't I? And you said you'd go so many places if it wasn't for me. And I tried to think, even opened my mouth as if I had an answer, but you stuck your head out the window, your shaggy mullet mop flying, and you yelled and yelled and yelled. Thanks. And then because I'm in a really chipper mood, apparently, I picked a really sad poem to read to you as well. This was from Trampset last May. And it's called, While Talking to Your Doctor About the Lithium Side Effects, I Hear You Emptying the Dishwasher Without Me Asking. When I flip back through this life, 50 years from now, shrunken in a hospital bed, or tomorrow laying in the wreckage of our minivan, it will be your face I see. The printout from the ultrasound, your thumb in your mouth, lips pursed, eyes squeezed shut, your face, purple as the labor and delivery nurse slapped your feet, your heartbeat slowing, the doctor slicing and grabbing, tearing us in two. Your face, a reverse line of you shrinking from man to boy, to baby, to belly. It will be your face, months and then years, then dimple on your left cheek when you laugh, your spiky hair, the way you hold your hamster with a glove so you can love her, even with prickly toes, up to last night when you tried the pad thai despite the peanuts on top because I asked you, please. Your face this morning, even when everything in this world is monstrous, and I could hand you back the knife I took away and locked in the cupboard above the refrigerator. Even then, your face is what I see. And what I hate is this world, the way the neighbors shake their heads, how bright the lights are to you, how the guitar strings screech when I switch chords and you run from the room. What I hate is how often you try to unlock the cupboard. I emptied the dishwasher. You come in to tell me, I'm sorry. Thank you.
My hero, Hannah. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Enough said. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Okay, next up is Jason Kropsky. Jason published the monograph Between Politics and Morality, Hans Kelson's Contributions to the Changing Notion of International Criminal Responsibility in 2019. His recent lecture series, The Death of Socrates and the Birth of Political Philosophy, created for the rural communities of Southwest Oregon, interrogated the law's limits and the possibility of civil disobedience in an America fractured. His essays and poetry have been published in The Daring, and he remains a frequent contributor to WordShedNYC. He lives in Seattle, Washington. Jason, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, this is a return of sorts. I started out reading poetry. I was about 17, 18 in Nyack, New York. This is 25 years ago or so. In a bar called Shay's Rebellion. Read a poem, actually read a few poems. And the bar owner really liked me, so he served me drinks underage. So I was really happy about that. And now that's, so that was a thrill, and it's a thrill to be here. And thank you, Sean, and Leah, thank you for all you do for WordShed. And I'll read the two poems that I have up on in the publication for 1455. So the first one is Captain of Sad Wandering in memory of Paul Celan, 1920 to 1970. You dragged your foot along for so long, bandaged your homeless wound, wandered from place to place with sour cheese above your lip, below your nose, sniffed acrid pockmarked holes. At Gustav Eiffel's ochre brown tower, you let out the divine, if muted, howl. Goose stepping down the Champs-Élysées, children of Wotan made their way. A flock of loons lifted off a spire, circling until dizzy, Paul fell to weep for all the sins of Margaretta's misdeeds. You are the tattoo that shines from the beacon along the River Seine, Star of David illuminating the sky, currency flag, God and tribe. You tear from contempt, worrisome indiscretion between ego of past and pride of future, humility left vacant for the taking. What is it worth for the excommunicated to buy back all these disgraces, to recycle 1,000, even 1,000,000 faces? At the end of the road is a dépanneur, a baguette, a set of road maps. I calculate all the ways you slip from grace. I drink the black milk of morning. I bless you for never visiting Heidegger again, captain of sad wanderings. Last taste of the coffee pip inside the purple fruit, muddy like the unforgiving bog, cobalt sea. You fall into the unfurling Seine, Paris dawn. So that's poem one. And poem two is Go Play, Play Oscar, about my favorite creature, my dog. Go play, play Oscar. We have just completed our walk in the chickadee afternoon, glistening cedar brown fur, dashing through tumor-plated kitchen, bound for the whirling orange distappled porch. Again he is off, leaping into four-pawed air with a dachshund's fine-toothed muzzle, jabbing into the deep, divineless hole of ontological relativism, if pretending that what we say is indeed logically correct, as knowing that the sun may not come back tomorrow, or I may not be able to find the pen with the felt tip knob in my favorite desk drawer, to chronicle the in-between, to admit that there is no proof. Have you ever met a truly objective man? Where does he sleep? And does he shit? Does he believe in rendering reason and God in a single breath? Does he meditate on Molochs, not Molochs or Melachs for that matter, having read too much Schopenhauer, cursing the classical muse? I go, and so does Oscar, like biblically trained mutts, which we are, will always be. We go to the depths. He scatters the soil of Martha's backyard with dagger claws, mischievous crinkle. Ripened magnolia petals fall again after a second blooming. I pick up the bright pink flower, almost hardened, watch my boy tussle with a stick he has found in the empty fire pit. Between panting breath of avid molders, Oscar chews the loamy bark. Thank you.
I mean, Jason, this, editing this magazine, doing what I do at 1455 is absolutely a labor of love. And, I subscribe to the theory, however recalcitrant I am. I think a lot of writers, unfortunately, subscribe to the paucity theory, like, any attention for others takes away from me. I am the exact opposite. I love falling in love with other people's writing and other people's aesthetic. To read your work was a joy and a delight, but to hear you read it, just a truly special. You're going to need to be part of future 1455 events because we need that voice. I'm grateful for you participating. Okay, next up is Turner Roth. He is a poet and essayist. He received an MA in philosophy from Université Paris 8 and Kingston University, London. He lives and works in New York City on issues relating to housing and homelessness, and as a political organizer with the Communist Party USA. Turner, thanks for being here.
Where is he?
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everyone. Very lovely to encounter your work and to hear it read. It's definitely always very pleasurable to hear work read. So thank you for what you do at 1455 and for this publication. Really wonderful comments. Your introduction to it. So I will read, I guess, two of the poems that were published and one more. So these poems were in last summer, kind of during the uprisings that were taking place surrounding police brutality. And this first poem visits or is within the story of Ham and the curse of Ham given by Noah in the book of Genesis. And the next is about Nat Turner and the slave rebellion that took place in Southampton, Virginia in 1831. Ham's curse. Sour drop spilled out and rolled down his leg. I am demon seed, scorched scrotum sun, placed as instrument at tense entrance, dark cool that drew me in. It opened to me enclave of forgotten womb, maintained now as outpost for afternoon's retreat. Splayed out as lamb entrails to mark how man's curved back is creation of the world. Hoe and axe beside him, sprouted out of ground like the vine he cultivates. Having drunk too much of it, sinking into miasmic sleep, direct descendant of the first living, touches the right hand of sorrowful Adam as the crashing waves recommence. Hits and starts, groaning and grinding. Powerful thigh swells and maw chomping at the bit. He doesn't notice me flitting as shadow about the wall, sickled bits of twisted mulch spat out from the shafts of creation, aberrant and bearing the cost of what he has borne. We sink together in the storm as I, a barnacled sore, re-enter the chamber of the sweet and sudden labor, coming to the furthest reaches, racked motor of Genesis. Southampton. Red sashes, red hats upon them, marching back and forth in the barn. Dole saber leads on, my power thick in ripeness of Virginia moon, cotton bending to the final exit fought for, come what may. Didn't see nor hear the fury at their door, wild a wind that breaks their cultivation. How even now they scream in the night in fits of terror that we were. What will be on the other side of it? Luke chastised, and the spiny-backed fiends driven from the temple we create on earth. From hieroglyphic of corn leaf and blue-green sun, there is shown the way, beyond the curse, beyond the terror of the name. I'll just read one final poem, but in a different register. It's called the Mannahatta, based on the poem from Whitman of the same name. 1. In the heart of the world, cracks in cement, the orange wall peeling, stratum of sound overhead, collected activity of man. I burrow into the shadows of its dispensation. I am covered over with wheat. Fleck of sky on the ground reflecting endless rooms, city squeezed out of dirt, a border, a crossing, vision of here and away. Sun setting, passageways drifting forever on the heels of what keeps it together, a world of reflecting surfaces, an unimaginable concatenation of time. 2. Sky that tends toward falling, the cut of roofs and scraping masses of glass and brick, each stitch of street leaning toward, their surfaces full of newly formed faces, the rocking dynamic absolute, tresses of hair undone, smoking, waiting. The birds fly over, the street empties, sovereign life in the field of limitless life, the droves cobbled together, straight, jagged, billowing, stretched and drawn, gaunt and immune, dying and never dying, holding forth and bending toward the sky stretched and spiraling up in the folds of bay air, shimmering soul, making her ways to the water beyond. Thank you.
Wow. Turner, I want to thank you for making me smarter and more philosophical just by approximation. I beg you to remain in my orbit so I can kind of glom on to that wisdom and just have your aesthetic street cred makes me feel my poetic soul is enriched by that. So selfishly, I need to hear more of that. So thank you.
Kindly, Sean. Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay, next up is Jonathan Memmer, who is a poet, writer, and reader who doesn't think life makes a lot of sense at times and is continually fascinated by how many twists and turns we encounter daily. He lives in Manhattan and is an MFA candidate at the City College of New York in Harlem. His poetry has been published in 433, Global City Review, and the Promethean. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you. So let me start by saying hello to everyone, and I'm glad to be in the company of everyone. And Sean, thank you so much for publishing my work, and all the staff at 1455 Movable Type. I'm going to read the two poems from the 1455 Movable Type, and then I'm going to add one more poem from 433 that I published. So this is the first poem. The first poem is about all three poems are commentaries on different aspects of the moment. So the first poem is a reference to climate change. It's called Forest Tree Falls. Intermittent raindrops, random leaves rustle, turbulent storms seethe, erosive ground quakes, century tree uproots, age rings splinter crushed into earth. Death holds moments, decay lingers on. Decay returns primal bark, leaves, mulch, no sound made in the forest. Time's grip slips, fails us all. That's the first one. And my next poem is actually a commentary on social media. This is a poem called Follow Me on Instagram. Here is my latest high. Here is my current craze. Here is hip attitude. Here is cool recklessness. Here is brazen life. Here is addictive behavior. Here is a bruised ego. Here is a lost love. Here is a cowardice endured. Here is a courage squandered. Here is fresh grown blunt weed. Here is a garden forsaken. Here is the fruit left on the vine. Here is the wannabe celebrity. Here is my psychosis. Here is the childhood abandoned. Here is the adult smothered. Here is the prank backfired. Here is the botched suicide. Here is a reality check. Here is the drunken stupor. Here is what is before. Here is what is after. Here is a slick selfie. Here is a million likes. Here is instant gratification. Here is the splintered soul. Here is the orgasm wasted. Here is my identity dismembered. Here is a shared insanity. Here is what I think art is. Here is a step not taken. Here is the race not run. Here is the sea not sailed. Here is the rise of an influencer. Here is the hurled anger. Here is forgiveness denied. Here is sensation numbed. Here is my message dispersed. Here is the musical moment. Here is a withdrawn hand. Here is a deed not done. Here is a heartache etched raw. Here is a tear withheld. Here is some hope on playback. Here is my reinvention sequence. Here is the convenient relationship. Here is the perpetual motion. Here is a conflict engaged. Here is to listen to deaf. Here is the muted tongue. Here is the eye turned away. Here is the order obeyed. Here is a treasure plundered. Here is a body violated. Here is beauty made ugly. Here is yesterday's intervention. Here is a tattooed present. Here is the woke tomorrow. Here is my missed calling. Here is carpe diem passe. Here is a death before its time. Here is a legend in the making. Here, everything is a brand. Here is the pop-up revolution. Here is protest personified. Here is a gif or take. Here is the true memeing. Here is the sponsored post. Here is my emoji. Here is my joke made at someone else's expense. Here is my mirror that mirrors my madness moment. Thank you.
Woo!
And finally, I'm going to read a poem. This is a poem that was published last year during the pandemic. And this was a poem that was published in an online magazine called 433.org. It's actually the first poem I ever got published because I started late with poetry. And it's based on an exercise where you write a poem. It's based on a John Cage piece of music where he sat at a piano for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And this is a poem that it was composed in 4 minutes and 33 seconds. This is called Spring, and it's about the pandemic. Spring. In this quiet instance, we live the hardness of endurance, of solace, our will to go on bereft. Still we do, as if no other choice exists. follow the thousand stars of new night, traverse the celestial arc, transform to light, new day. Bound to our gravity, flowers arrive in season. Thank you all.
Wow. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thank you for assessing in that second poem. Talk about a mic drop for our cultural moment. That's everything.
Yeah.
It's both refreshing and necessary. It's an antidote through art. So, wow. Right on. Okay, last and definitely not least is Laura Salvatore. Laura is currently pursuing her MFA in creative writing at the City College of New York. She studied art history and English at Southern Connecticut State University. She currently works at Southeast Institute of Art as part of the Global Online Division. Her poetry has been published in PIF Journal, Angel City Review, and Upstate Magazine, amongst others. Laura, thank you for being here and being part of this issue.
Thanks so much, Sean. Thank you for including me. It's been really great to hear everybody read so far. I'm going to start with one of the poems that was featured in the magazine called Summer in the City. All June, I watched the starlings bloody the roof with berries plucked from the nearby cherry tree, lifting their beaks, smelling the metallic air, swallowing the gushing orbs whole. I think of sending you photos of the red-stained roof, the pits scattered to one side, my bare body and the reflection of the window. A year ago, you were hardly wrapped around the maw of my interiority, not the vacant road, not your hand on my leg. With you, I bought red jasper street side. The man warned me when he handed it over, repeated it twice. I couldn't hear him over my echolocating of you. My shirt and hair stick to me and the spots where previously you strayed, the cavernous granite hold of my lower back. Do you ever think of giving your body what it wants? I do constantly, but can't bring myself to do it. Alone, I smell fresh air and light something on fire. Let my hair grow greasy. Find trails of pepper seeds everywhere I go. In my bed, under the hallway rug, my messiness alive behind me. In yesterday's car, we sing praise of the yucca trees we pass, how sharp they spear into the air. Forest of swords, I dream of placing myself in your center, unreachable, quiet. Let's see, so the next poem I'm going to read is called Ghost Town. Feed me, I'm pretending I live at the precipice of a dusty mountain. At the start of the day, you bring me a loaf of rye bread and new keys. Shimmy out the one that broke clean off in the lock when I forced its hand the day before. There is nothing better than sheets pinned cleanly to the line, grappling with the breeze. Nothing better than a half-crumbled wall holding ground. Nothing better than a zinnia arcing highway side. My heart is that exact ravine, arriving suddenly and clawing into existence a place to lay. I'm excessively careful with what I love. I am asking, please squeeze my thigh with the hand not on the doorknob. I emanate when you are in reach, even when the reaching is entirely my own. And then I'm going to end with
Wow.
one other poem that is called Woman on Your Holy Block. The only strange man I love today is the one with his hands wrapped around the throat of the apple tree in his front yard, shaking fruit loose, lit cigarette pinned to his frustrated mouth. He does not see me walk by, does not care about the Queen Anne's lace growing on the edge of the hot pavement, the sun beating down on our exposed necks. Oh, to be a woman unseen.
Wow. Laura, there's a beautiful symmetry because you were the first one to join the meeting and the last one to read. We were talking about your MFA thesis. I'm so excited about what we're going to see, the fruits of your labor. I'm really looking forward to this collection that comes together and hearing more from you. So thank you so much for
Thank you, Sean.
So listen, guys, we filled an hour plus, which, I mean, slam dunk. I've got nothing more to say other than I want to thank each of you individually: Leah, Vicky, Zia, Hannah, Jason, Turner, Jonathan, Laura. A tremendous honor to publish your work, to provide a modest but very genuine and excited platform. And you know, this epitomizes the work I think we're all doing as literary citizens. We want to do our work and try to find ways to initiate discourse via our creative efforts, but also engage with other writers, other storytellers, and find ways to connect with our communities. Tonight is the first of many opportunities to do this. How dare I ask any more of any of you, but what I do ask is that you will continue to send your work in and be part of the 1455 community, because I can assure you that your voices will always be welcome, and you will enrich the work that I'm doing by contributing your voices. So in closing, I will just thank you individually and everyone that's joining tonight and checking this out. I will put this on the 1455 site like I always do, and I will include links where possible to all of these writers' websites so you can discover them and support them. Please do so. And remember that it takes a village. It takes a proverbial village. So support your literary magazines, support your fellow writers, and do what you can to make sure that we are giving voice to this amazing work that deserves to be heard, because we need voices like this at times like this. So good night. And again, all of you, thank you for being here tonight, being part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do,
Thank you,
Sean.
Sean.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much. Sean.
Continued, right?
Thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad to be here with everyone.
Yeah, me too.
And I look forward to
Thank
seeing
you.
you on WordShed December 16th. So I hope you guys will join. We'll send that out.
Right on.
Thank you.
Be well and to be continued.
Good
Yeah.
night. Thank you.
Night.
Thank you. Sean, before I leave, I want you to watch. I'm going to send you an email immediately for a writer I saw a little piece of his work today that just knocked my socks off. You've got to see this guy. Yeah, young, starting out, phenomenal voice.
Okay.
So I'll send that to you right away.
Please do, and we will talk offline.
I love you, honey. Bye.
Bye.